All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the oversimplified, if anything, video on how to do referencing. Today is purely about how to create the reference for a case or create the reference for a piece of legislation. If you're looking for more detail about how to reference these within your assignment, please have a look at my other videos which go into this in more detail. So this is purely a how to create the citation itself for those of you who are unsure. So let's jump right in. So how to reference case law. We start with the case name. It has to be in italics, and we're using only the first plaintiff and defendant's name. We are then putting the year. It'll be square brackets in some instances and round in other instances, and this depends on the court and whether the year is essential to locate the volume or not. Then we have the judgment number and we have the pinpoint. So what I've done is I've gone on to Osley and I have just taken a screen grab of the most recent cases that they have for the South Australian Supreme Court. So these are all 2026 cases because it's the most recent. And what I want you to do when you are creating a citation is copy and paste your sort of guide, I guess we could call it, so that you know what's what or who's who in the zoo, as we like to call it. So, that's probably too much. That's not where we want it to be. All right, we'll get rid of the pinpoint. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick a couple from above on the list that we can all see, and then this will give you an example of how to do it. So what I'm going to start off with is we're going to do Lawrence against Reed. So italics are on. We have got Lawrence, and then we say against instead of V, and then Reed. Then we're going to turn our italics off. We're going to do a square bracket, 2026, because that is the year, square bracket off. We are in the South Australian Supreme Court, so we use the unique court identifier. It's shortened. We don't write out South Australian Supreme Court. We use the abbreviated version. Then we know that the judgment number is 44. I'm not going to put the date in. If I did need to reference a certain paragraph, for example, if a judge said something that was really important for the point that I was illustrating in my assignment, I might reference the actual paragraph number. Otherwise, you can delete the pinpoint and do a full stop. So we'll do another one. Let's do the Attorney General against Doe. So again, italics on, Attorney General SA against, who are we against? DO or Doe? I'm not sure. There's probably a way to say that. That isn't that. Number two, italics are off. Then what year are we in? Well, we're in 2026. So that's pretty easy. We're in the South Australian Supreme Court. Again, fairly easy. And 43. Let's do Payne against Wattle. So we've got Payne against Wattle Range Council. Again, year 2026. What court are we in? South Australian Supreme Court, and 40. So it just keeps going like that. Italicize the parties, then we have the year, then we have the court, then we have the judgment number, add a pinpoint if you need. If you need any more examples, please have a look at my more in-depth videos. Otherwise, we're going to go now to the legislation so we can keep this video short and sharp. So again, legislation simplified. We need to italicize the title, italicize the year. We have the jurisdiction in brackets, so that would be the Commonwealth, New South Wales, Queensland, etc., not italicized. And then we use a pinpoint where required to reference specific sections within the piece of legislation. So we'll start here. Again, pop your title, year, jurisdiction at the top when you're doing this so that there's just no mistakes and you can't get it wrong. Now, what is the title of this piece of legislation? It is the Air Services Act. Italics are off. Where are we? We're in the Commonwealth. We know this because of the emblem. Then do we need a pinpoint? If I wanted to add a pinpoint, I could do, say, section 12 or just a full stop. And if you want information on how to reference the legislation within your assignment, say in a sentence, etc., please have a look at my other videos because obviously mid-sentence you're not going to add in a full stop there. Then let's check another one. So here, and again, I've just been uh, on the legislation list on the Commonwealth website. So first we need to put italics on. What is the piece of legislation we have? We have the Parliament Act. Italics are off whoops, I have done the first one wrong. Gee whiz, that's not good. So we've got Air Services Act 1995. Sorry, guys. There we go. So, and again, that needs to be italicized. This is why we need to put this up there because obviously, as you can see, if you're not concentrating, it's so easy to make mistakes. So we've got the Parliament Act. What year are we? 1974. That needs to be in italics too. And then we are Commonwealth. We've got the emblem. All right, let's do a couple more just to illustrate the point. Now we're going to do one that is not a Commonwealth piece of legislation. Italics are on. We have the Electricity Act. What year? 1996. All in italics. Turn italics off. South Australia, full stop. Or if we wanted to reference a specific section, it would look like that. And we'll do another one just to really illustrate the point. So here, italics are on. Then we have the Trustee Act 1936. Italics go off. We are in South Australia, and we could add a pinpoint if we needed to, or just leave it like that. Now, of course, with the Australian Guide to Legal Citation, you use footnotes, not in-text referencing. And please have a look at my other videos if you want to know how to do that and how to reference it within your actual case response IRAC response. Then we use IBID for consecutive citations to the same source. Sometimes you might use a short title. So if you have already referenced the full Trustee Act and later on in the same question response you want to reference it again, it may be suitable in those circumstances to just write Trustee Act. And we always have a bibliography at the end. Hopefully this was useful for you. And again, keep it simplified. Write this at the top every time because as you saw, it's so easy to make a mistake. And this just keeps you looking at it again and then you can pick up any errors, for example, not including the year. All right, thanks guys.